Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L, and today let's talk about a scenario that you've most likely encountered, especially if you've been involved in fandom. What we're gonna start off with a very simple scenario and then expand on a few more specifics. So, have you seen an exchange that goes something like this? Man, I absolutely hate fairy tale. This shouldn't be a series. Then just stop reading it. Nah, I've already spent 3 years with it, I might as well finish it. Trip, you're being stupid. So this is the situation. Have you ever encountered a person who strongly hates a series yet still follows it? Why do that? At first glance, most people would say that person's being silly. And then you hear the reason, something like, I want to see how it ends, or I've already spent time, I might as well keep going. Maybe hearing the reason, some people will let it be, maybe that feels reasonable. But again, at first glance, that's still a very silly reason. Let's start simple and leave this line of thought at this point. If you happen to be someone who has been guilty of this line of thought, don't worry. This rational fallacy happens so often it has a name, the sunk cost fallacy. To be a bit more careful, this line of thought is a variation of the sunk cost fallacy. It's usually applied in economics, but since there is an underlying psychological effect, you can afford to apply it to a wider range of scenarios. The basics are simple. Because someone has already invested resources in something, that justifies that person investing more of their resources. In this case, the resource we're dealing with is time, and for some people, mental health. That idea, though, just doesn't work at this layer. Why, if this series causes a negative burn in a person, would they feel it's right to continue making themselves burn on the grounds that they've already been taking that burn for years? Why continue to spend their time on something that doesn't make them happy, something that they know won't make them happy? Well, it's because some people would say, because they don't want to waste their effort or waste the resources that they already sunk in. Maybe people would feel stupid that they invested so much already, that they feel the way to make that feeling go away is to stick with it, because it'd be such a shame otherwise. Or maybe there's pride involved. That's the emotional illusion though. So they choose, instead of cutting clean the source of their anger, to continue investing their time in something that makes them feel unpleasant because they've felt unpleasant for so long. Because they hurt, they continue to want to be hurt. Because they spent their time on it, they want to continue spending time on it. Leaving it at this level of reasoning, with no other reasons to justify the behavior, this just looks like the epitome of foolishness. At this level, the person has to recognize that their time is worthless. Especially in the context of entertainment, which is supposed to inspire neutral to positive feeling in people. What the person has admitted to is that their time is so worthless they can afford to waste it on something that puts them in a bad state of mind instead of a beneficial one. In the context of a series, they'll say, well, it's just 20 minutes of a day. Is there nothing better that person can do with that 20 minutes? Like maybe watch a better series at least? No? Well, the person has to admit that their life is pretty boring and empty, since that's what it's implied to be. Now that was the most surface level breakdown, but people are complex, so let's go deeper. Let's look at the word people are so quick to throw around. Hate. Hating something attached to money is not always the best thing a person can do to a series. If they don't like a series, the better thing to do is to not watch it. Just drop it. Not caring about someone's work is the worst you can do to a work, because hate, in the same way that love works, is an emotional attachment. The series has instilled a feeling in the person. Yes, it's not positive, but attachment isn't limited to positive emotion. Because of this feeling instilled in the person, the series is now influencing their behavior. If a series is able to affect your behaviors, is that not a victory for the creator? Because the person is still engaging with the material. It also may not be so much that the person is angry or bothered because of the show they're watching, but rather that it's because of the show that they get to act that way. At this level, what I'm saying is an attachment has been created and you feel the emotional obligation to see it through for the sake of the emotions it incites in you. At this level, what I'm saying is an attachment has been created and they feel the emotional obligation to see it through for the sake of the emotions it incites in them. They could have grown emotionally attached to the material, or they could have grown attached to the way the series makes them feel. They're dependent on it. Some people, as it turns out, like complaining about things. So in this case, it's more than time investment, it's that they care. They care about this thing that gave them this reaction because it continues to give them the reaction. A person could then say, well, no, I'm hurting the series by continuing to watch and complain. That's a hasty statement. Now we have to open up the question a little bit though and turn it general. Why do people keep watching series they hate? Someone doesn't like a series and they lash out in the comments and they think they've hurt the series somehow. Why do they think that? Well, because as people, we have made an internal connection that acting in response to negative feelings usually leads to the other thing being hurt. So on a bit of a higher level, maybe this person continues watching this series and continues complaining about it because they want to hurt it. Because they don't like it, they want it to suffer, and they can do that by complaining about it. So it becomes an ongoing battle. They want to hurt the series hurts them. This just doesn't work in the age of the internet though. For every person that complains, another person defends. And then maybe because the one person made such a giant stink about it, maybe a random bystander saw this and decided to check whatever show out, and who knows what that person will do. The person may just have added to the viewership. This is why all publicity is good publicity at certain stages. You just don't know the potential of that new reader or new viewer that you may have gotten because someone's been criticizing your work. There's one more aspect as to why people may continue to watch a series they hate and complain about it, and that is community. People are lonely. Doesn't it feel good when someone agrees with you? Doesn't it feel good to know that this thing that makes you feel so strongly, someone else also has that same feeling? That you can have fun complaining about the thing you hate together and that the other person will get it. Some people, whether or not they recognize it, may just sit down for a show because they're looking forward to complaining about it to people who will listen later. Now, whether or not this is an appropriate use of time, well, debatable. It staves off the crippling silence at least though, right? And hey, some profit out of complaining, so props to them. Although at this stage you start realizing that the cons that come about from hating or disliking this show or series, when you start adding external factors or isolated rewards, such as a reaction from another person who's watching it along with you, it becomes a matter of whether or not the positives start to outweigh the negatives. It then becomes just a matter of opportunity cost. The person is offering up their temporary comfort in return for what could potentially be a nice return afterward. This might be a reason. Anyway, those are the points I wanted to cover. Why people watch series they hate. Because of the time investment and the fallacy of that line of thought. Because they like that the series makes them hate it. Because they want to try to bring it down. Because they want to hate it with other people. Those are my points. And those are the points that I wanted to make. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. And that's the end of the video. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed the video. This was a bit more objective in some areas, but I feel really proud of the material that was presented, especially with the sunk cost fallacy. That is a legitimate thing that does occur. You can read up on it. I will have a link down below to a few pages that do a job of kind of describing it. Feel free to go for it. And for some people that feel that it's not really fair to apply that fallacy here, especially if you're aware of the economic connotations to that fallacy, well, when you look at it, it's involving investments, and when it comes to this aspect of, I guess, a series or a show and watching that, the biggest investment that we have really is our time. And you can still develop these emotional attachments to time. And as you saw in the rest of the video, we were ultimately revolving around the idea of attachment. Whether or not it was an emotional attachment to time or an emotional attachment to how you feel, it's just really interesting to see the varieties of ways that people can relate to material. And that's kind of what I just wanted to put out there, that it's not just simply an issue of someone saying a one statement, and because they say that statement, that's what it is. It's usually there's a bigger background to the things that you're thinking and why you're thinking the way you're thinking. And I think that's absolutely valuable, especially when you consider these things have been researched or documented by dozens of researchers who came before us, who are all better at navigating the field that is the mind and explaining it for the common plebs like us to understand. But yeah, overall, I hope you enjoyed the video, and till next time, I hope you have a great day.